Nikko Jenkins. The name is infamous in the true crime genre. A search on any video platform will produce terms such as the evilest man in America, the most dangerous man on earth, natural-born killer, and psychopath. His rap sheet includes more than 20 convictions over 2 decades on crimes such as murder, aggravated assault, armed robbery, arson, and use of a deadly weapon, to name a few. This is a man so terrifying, unpredictable, and violent, both in and out of prison, that a psychiatric hospital once refused to admit him. According to street legend, he once killed a man simply for looking at him. In 2013, Nikko Jenkins went on a ruthless killing spree in Nebraska just weeks after his release from prison. The murders made national headlines for their brutal and random nature. His subsequent behavior in prison was even more startling and grotesque. As we examine the case of Nikko Jenkins, note that the intent is not to vilify or dignify the person, nor to portray him as a victim or criminal. The record overwhelmingly speaks for itself. This is simply an account of the facts as I understand them, and it will be up to you, the viewer, to decide what those facts mean. So let us ask what can be learned from studying this case. Is there anything that can be done to prevent such atrocity in the future? Let's dive in. The first thing that you need to know about Nikko Allen Jenkins is that he comes from a remarkably long line of convicted felons.
You could say Nikko Jenkins and his relatives have had a colorful past. Just look at their family tree. 7 felons in just 2 generations. Let's start with Nikko's uncle, 51-year-old Warren Levering. He's a felon just released from prison in Oklahoma and has done time in Nebraska, too. Investigators say he's fathered 7 children with 6 different women in 5 states. This week, Nikko Jenkins' mother, Lori just bonded out of jail herself this week on an unrelated felony terroristic threats charge. In addition to Levering, Lori has 2 other brothers. Both are convicted felons. One is even currently on parole. Investigators say Lori Jenkins had 6 children with David McGee but never married him. McGee died in 2009 but was a felon himself, convicted of terroristic threats. Of the couple's 6 kids, 4 have been arrested in the past month. 23-year-old Erica Jenkins is a convicted felon. Erica's little sister, 18-year-old Lori Sales, known as Lolo, is charged in Bradford's murder too. Prosecutors say she got rid of the murder weapon. A third sister, Melanie, also a convicted felon, bailed out of jail last week on unrelated terroristic threats charges. She's 25, and investigators say she has 3 children under the age of 7, and all were initially placed in child protective custody. Nikko has 2 other sisters. Both live out of state, and neither are in much contact with the Omaha Jenkins. A broad look at the ties to one man.
Nikko Jenkins was born in Colorado on September 16, 1986. His upbringing can be described as unstable and traumatic at best. As a child, Nikko witnessed rampant violence, verbal abuse, and alcohol and drug abuse. He also was a victim of substantial physical and verbal abuse from his parents, sisters, uncles, and cousins. According to a court-ordered evaluation of Nikko, his family life lacked the structure and social and emotional nourishment a child needs. His father was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. He abused alcohol and eventually abandoned the family when Nikko was 7 years old. There were times after physical confrontations in the home when Nikko was required to clean up the blood. As a result, he had difficulty sleeping as a child due to anxiety and nightmares. Records show Nikko was placed in foster care at age 7 and was first psychiatrically hospitalized at age 8. He was administered the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, in which he scored 88, just below average. In his youth, Nikko was evaluated by Dr. Jane Dalkey, a psychiatrist who reported that he was suicidal and a danger to his mother and sister. He was hearing voices, carrying on conversations with himself, reported audio and visual hallucinations, and suffered difficulty sleeping and bedwetting. Dr. Dalkey testified that he had bipolar disorder at age 8, and that it is quite difficult for an 8-year-old child to malinger or fake it. 6 psychiatrists unanimously agreed that Nikko experienced years of serious mental illness. The most common diagnosis was schizoaffective disorder/bipolar type. Government clinicians, however, reached different diagnoses but agreed that Nikko had serious mental disorders. At age 11, he was reportedly sexually abused by a cousin. Also at age 11, Nikko became involved in gang-related activities and began to regularly carry weapons. Records show that before age 12, Nikko had already had multiple indictments, including 5 thefts, 1 arson, 1 weapon charge, and 2 criminal mischief charges. In addition, Nikko was expelled from numerous schools for fighting, breaking windows, frequent unauthorized absences, and bringing a handgun to school on 1 occasion. By 7th grade, he had stopped attending school altogether. By age 13, he had developed a substance abuse problem and lived in 7 out-of-home placements ordered by the state. Additionally, Nikko had been incarcerated in the Douglas County Juvenile Detention Center multiple times in his teenage years. Finally, in 2002, after years of detention, he was returned to society, but without the benefit of a re-entry program or mental health treatment plan for his transition back into the community. With minimal education, a poor employment outlook, untreated behavioral health problems, and a lack of supportive family structure, the prospects of a successful adjustment to society were slim at best. So perhaps it's no wonder that on June 24, 2002, Nikko returned to familiar habits and carjacked and robbed a 21-year-old man at gunpoint. 2 months later, he carjacked a 20-year-old woman at gunpoint at a grocery store. In 2003, at 17, Nikko was convicted for the armed robberies and sentenced to 18 years in prison, which would later grow to 21 years. By July 2005, he was placed in solitary confinement intermittently due to behavioral problems. He was alone in a cell for 23 hours per day and separated from most normal human contact. He received no meaningful health treatment while in solitary. At the time of his release in 2013, he had spent 77% of his time in isolation. What does extensive solitary confinement do to the human psyche? Dr. Craig Haney, professor of psychology at the University of California, Santa Cruz, told a June 19 Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Human Rights that the conditions of confinement are far too severe to serve any kind of penological purpose. Dr. Haney had interviewed hundreds of prison staff and inmates and toured and inspected dozens of U.S. prisons. At the hearing, he showed pictures of solitary confinement's harsh conditions, including filthy cells that are scarcely larger than a king-size bed. For some prisoners, the endless monotony and lack of human contact precipitate a descent into madness. Also, the American Psychological Association states many inmates experience panic attacks, depression, and paranoia, and some suffer hallucinations. In addition, patients with existing mental illness see their mental illness exacerbated. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the long-term effect of solitary confinement is devastating. It can leave mentally ill individuals unable to function in correctional facilities and unprepared to successfully re-enter communities after release. When Nikko was not in isolation, he was wreaking havoc. He reportedly had a substantial history of verbalizing threats of violence against others. For example, on August 25, 2008, a unit manager reported on 2 conversations with Nikko. Apparently, he spoke with Nikko on July 22nd, and at that time, Nikko said, "I'm just going to randomly go to suburban houses and start killing people outside of North Omaha. Maybe go to Tecumseh or Syracuse with my gang members and start killing people." There are multiple reports of Nikko making similar threats. Despite the homicidal thoughts, Nikko was discharged from the Nebraska correctional system on July 30th, 2013, after serving just 10.5 of the 21-year sentence. Remarkably, he was released to the community straight from solitary confinement. Because he was discharged and not paroled, Nikko was not under parole supervision or any other kind of special monitoring. His wife at the time, Nikko Jenkins, claimed in an interview with KETV that she urged the parole board against letting him out as he was not ready to be in society.
He's not pretending to be crazy. He's real life crazy.
Nikko Jenkins says in the 5 years she's known her husband Nikko, he's suffered a plethora of mental illness and claims to be controlled by an Egyptian god Apophis.
Nikko specifically told me that Apophis gives him orders.
Nikko told her Apophis saved him from attempting suicide in solitary confinement a few years ago.
It was this voice that came and was just like, If you do what I tell you to do, if you follow my demands, then I'll make sure you're safe and make sure you're okay.
Nikko claims to have heard these voices since he was a child, and it continued through his teenage and adult years. And prior to his July release from prison, Nikko asked for mental help. His wife did too.
I told them not to let him out. I said he's not ready to come out in society.
But Nikko's wife says the system failed him by not giving him that treatment.
On August 11, 2013, police were dispatched to a location in Omaha and found the deceased bodies of 29-year-old Jorge Cajiga Ruiz and 26-year-old Juan Uribe Peña in a pickup truck. Their pockets were turned inside out in their pants, and police discovered deer slug casings at the scene. On August 18, 2013, Nikko bumped into his former cellmate, the 22-year-old Curtis Bradford, at a party. They reconnect and post a photo on Facebook that evening. The next day, at around 7 a.m., the police were called to 18th and Clark Street and observed a deceased 22-year-old black male with obvious gunshot wounds to the head. The victim is identified as Curtis Bradford. Police also find a deer slug, consistent with the deer slug used at the earlier homicides. On August 21, 2013, Andrea Kruger had just completed a bartending shift at the Deja Vu Lounge when surveillance footage showed her locking up at 1:47 a.m. She was driving home at approximately 2 a.m. when another vehicle stopped her car. The driver got out of his vehicle, walked up to Andrea's driver's side door, opened it, and forcibly pulled her out. He immediately shot her multiple times. The assailant jumped into her car and took off. 4 murders in 10 days. The crime's brutal, senseless, and seemingly random nature terrified the community. Who was the perpetrator, and who will be next? Authorities launched a full-scale investigation that involved the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, the Omaha Police Department, the FBI, and the U.S. Marshals. On Monday, August 30th, a woman at the Tudor Apartments in Omaha called 911, stating that Nikko Jenkins threatened to kill her and her family. Nikko was located and arrested on a terroristic threats charge. Police observed Nikko carrying a bag into an apartment and obtained a search warrant for that bag. It contained a Remington Model Express Magnum Pump 12-gauge shotgun with a cut barrel and buttstock, and a Hi-Point Carbine Model 995 rifle. Shell casings recovered from the Kruger murder scene were determined to have been fired by the same Hi-Point carbine. It also had Bradford's DNA on it. Ballistics evidence revealed that the spent rifle slug from the Bradford crime scene was fired from the shotgun recovered from the bag. On September 3rd, they brought Nikko in for questioning. By then, they had acquired substantial evidence against him, including an image of a female on surveillance footage purchasing the kind of unique ammunition used in the killings. Police also obtained video from local businesses which placed Nikko and his uncle in the area around the time of Kruger's murder. Additional corroboration came from Nikko's cousin, who was present at the first and last murders, and one of Nikko's sisters concerning Bradford's murder. With this in mind, the interrogation begins.
Go. I don't like to be alone. I need to speak to someone. Okay. That's what makes my mind frame goes back. Obviously, I'm schizophrenic, bipolar, sir. I don't take medication, so right now, that's why I'm going to stay. That's why I told them they need to hurry up when I'm in this mind frame. Okay. So that when I speak to you, it's clear. But another thing, what I'm about to do, you, the sheriff office, and you guys need to be honest with me. Okay. Because if we're going to make this work and get this closure for this family, you're going to have to tell me what you have and what you don't have. That way I know if I have to go get it for you, because these are my cousins. Okay. These are my 2 family members, the ones that were in the house that day. Okay. Okay. They're brothers, but the one of them, you think I'm a mental case. He's a severe mental case. He has documented being in Lincoln Regional Center, Psychiatric Hospital. See what I'm saying? So, all right, he goes into, like, even when y'all arrested me, I don't know if you were on the team, but he was acting up when they were pulling us out the house. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't want this to, that's why I didn't want to talk down at the jail, because there's family members on my dad's side, because this is on my father's side. Okay.
I get them on the stick, all right? I'm gonna make you a fresh pot too. That's not the best, but it's what we got right now. But I'll make you a fresh pot. Here it is. All right? You good?
I need to speak to her superiors about this. The ones that I know that can.
He's my boss.
This is a
The
man.
ones that I know that can make the.
Nico, John Pankin.
First of all, this is going to be a good night, but you're going to get everything that you need to give her family closure. But I want you to understand something, and I'm going to say this very clearly. I was not there. Only thing I was hearsay, not hearsay, but to say, like, okay, my religion of Katoni Asumpel, that's the underworld. He was like on the mummy, the black book. So this was them, my little cousins, the one that were in the house with me. That when I got to serve the search warrant.
Right.
This was their ritual of sacrifice. And I'm going to give you from A to Z. This is not no goose chase. This is the real deal right here. What you people signed up for.
Okay. Before we get any further, though, I need to read you this rights advisory form, okay? Okay?
I never knew the who, the what, the when, the where. Only thing I gave was the intelligence. Okay?
Describe this to me. What this 9mm? Describe it to me.
Describe the weapon?
Yes.
It's a high point. It's a high point. I believe it's a high point rifle. But it shoots 9mm slugs. If you was to see this weapon, you would not believe that it was the murder weapon. Like I said, weeks prior to this, when I first got out, I gave intelligence. Like I said, I didn't know who was coming, what was coming, who was it going to be used on. All I did was give the intelligence.
What kind of intelligence?
Intelligence of when would be the best window of opportunity. What roads to take in. If you're going to do something way out west, they have cameras on the lights. As you know, when you take Fort from Military Ave, it takes you all the way out with no cameras, pitch black at nighttime. You realize that, right? So if you're coming from that crime scene, you can hit it straight out to Fort, and take Fort all the way back to Military Ave, all the way to the Walmart. That's right off the interstate. Ain't that Walmart right off the interstate? Off of Military Ave?
Yeah.
So my point is, things like that, the intelligence of what paths to take, you know what I mean, to avoid the cameras, things of that nature. The bar closed at this time, bartenders, and they walked out to their cars right after that, you know what I mean, you know what I mean? Because the specific point was to get her to an isolated place. You see what I'm saying? To where, and obviously, when you're out there, only thing that's, like, especially off of Maple, once you leave off of Maple, everything is black. Everything's black out there. So, it was a perfect opportunity. And that's why y'all don't even understand, man. I don't understand how hard this is for me right now. Because I'm portraying my family. Do you understand it? This is not just me. I understand one family's getting closure, you know. But I'm literally betraying my family and my bloodline.
After
You all right?
you all right, man? You all right, man?
That's what I don't understand, man. Is that I was in the Nebraska Corporation, man. All I wanted was helping people, man.
Yeah. I'd like to find somebody, or somebody might have that.
You need more coffee or not? Yes, please. Okay. But I'm telling you right now, what I just given you, I will testify to that. This is the first time that I've ever aided and assisted law enforcement in my life. So any jury, any judge, any prosecutor will be, once I sit on that stand and testify to this, it's golden. Any jury is not going to look at me and say, oh, he's told before and he's done. With my history and my reputation, and this first time testimony of ever aided and assisted law enforcement, and everything that I'm saying is accurate.
Okay. This is, you gotta come from.
I understand.
Because here, listen to me. But listen, no, I've listened to you for a long time. It's time for you to listen to me. Because like what you said, if you don't tell me what the heck happened out there, people are going to think the absolute worst. People are going to think the absolute worst. If this is a robbery went bad, if there's someone did something really stupid, now's the time. Because otherwise, you're right. They're going to look at Nikko Jenkins as a flat, bloody killer. That's what's going to happen. Do you not realize I got Nikko Jenkins? Do you not realize that? I got Nikko Jenkins. I got you.
What do you mean you got me?
I got your DNA at the murder scene. I got your DNA in the car.
Sir.
I got the weapon. I got Nikko Jenkins. I don't need to make it. I don't care about it. I just want other people that are involved in it. What the hell happened out there? And why? Already, I know who. I know what. I know when. I know where. And then when I talked to you earlier, you're saying stuff about a carjacking.
That woman's husband and children, that woman's husband is grieving right now. This is not just some psycho killer that just wanted to go trophy. I am documenting psychiatrically disordered. I'm documenting chemically imbalanced. This is a fact. So my point is,
We're well aware of that.
my point is this though. This family didn't deserve this.
Right.
This could have been prevented had it not been for the Nebraska Department of Corrections doing what they knew what they supposed to have did. And they never gave me an opportunity. They never gave me an opportunity for treatment because I wouldn't take the medicine.
Nikko stated that he heard the voice of the ancient Egyptian serpent god Apophis before the crimes. He said, "The last thing I could remember was I'm in a car. The next thing I know, I'm in front of this truck and I'm in front of these individuals. It wasn't premeditated. The demonic force led me to them just like the other victims. I don't recall in the moment of shooting them." When asked if he remembered killing Bradford, Nikko said that he remembered being with Bradford and hearing Apophis. Concerning Andrea Kruger's murder, Nikko recalled seeing a vehicle pull up behind him, hearing Apophis again, and getting out of his car. An investigation revealed that the first two victims, Cahiga Ruiz and Uribe Peña, were lured by Jenkins' sister and cousin under the premise of performing a sex act. Then, Nikko appeared and blasted each victim in the face with a shotgun loaded with a deer slug. Finally, the victims were robbed. Next, 22-year-old Curtis Bradford was recruited by Nikko to assist in a robbery, but it was a ruse. First, Nikko's sister shot him once in the head, and then Nikko grabbed his shotgun and said, "This is how you do it," and proceeded to shoot Bradford in the head with a deer slug. Lastly, Nikko confessed that he killed Andrea Kruger because he wanted her vehicle to rob or jack other people. Her body was discovered by police responding to a call for shots fired. On September 4th, 2013, the Omaha Police Department made the following announcement.
As always, I want to thank the Omaha media for convening on such short notice for this press conference. The purpose of this press conference is to announce the arrest of 26-year-old Nikko Jenkins on 4 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of use of a weapon to commit the murders, and 4 counts of felon in possession of a firearm. The homicides are, on August 11th, Jorge Caija Ruiz and Juan Uribe Peña were killed at 17th and F Street. On August 19th, Curtis Bradford was killed near 18th and Clark Street. And on August 21st, Andrea Kruger was killed in the area of 168th and 4th Street.
In 2013, Nikko sent handwritten letters to the Omaha World Herald newspaper, prosecutors, and a judge in which he claimed he wished to plead guilty to all counts. He added that he would protect Apophis' kingdom with animalistic, savage brutality. Nikko Jenkins was held without bond pending trial. Considering the facts of the case, the court wished to determine his competency. On November 8, Dr. Bruce Gutnick completed a psychiatric diagnostic competence assessment. Dr. Gutnick surmised that Nikko suffered from schizophrenia, continuous, severe. Dr. Gutnick, who evaluated Jenkins on 4 occasions over several years, noted that Nikko had hallucinations and delusions and a blunted affect. Dr. Gutnick could not rule out schizoaffective or other specified personality disorder. Dr. Gutnick said that Nikko was not competent to stand trial, but that his competence is restorable with appropriate treatment, including psychotropic medications. Based on Dr. Gutnick's assessment, the court ordered that Nikko be evaluated for competence to stand trial by staff at the Lincoln Regional Center. In February 2014, the court held a competency hearing. Psychiatrist Dr. Scott Moore contradicted Dr. Gutnick's assessment and said that Nikko was competent for trial. He believed that Nikko's principal diagnosis was antisocial personality disorder with a very slim likelihood of his having any other psychotic illness, and that Nikko was malingering. Once all the information was accounted for, Nikko was found by the court to be competent to stand trial. But Nikko Jenkins was on a mission to prove otherwise.